It is the end of the season for the BMW IBSF Skeleton World Cup. We've had the men's titles decided. Now it is time for the women. Hello everybody, welcome back to Sigulda in Latvia, the 8th and final stop on the World Cup Tour. And the destiny of the Crystal Globe will be decided in the next hour. Right now, it looks fairly much as though Tina Hermann will claim it for a second time in her career. But who will win this race? Martin Haven and Liz Meyer watching the action with you. And Liz, it's going to be entertaining because on this track, almost anything can and probably will happen.
Definitely. It's a track a lot of athletes don't have a ton of experience on. There's no home track advantage. We don't have any Latvian athletes in the field. So really, it can be open for anyone to win this race. You take an elevator up 5 stories and then you push your sled off the top. It's a slow start. This first corner and this second corner are big, long curves and you don't have a lot of speed. But as soon as you come out of those big curves, you're into the first labyrinth, 3 into 4. That transition's been really tricky this year. Into 5, into big corner 6, into your second labyrinth already, 7, 8, 9. Those are quick transitions into a little bit big corner 10. This is 11. It's very difficult for athletes. Lots of bumping on the left side. Into 12. Tricky transition again into 13 and another difficult one, 13 to 14. And even the exit of 14 has been getting some athletes into this long straightaway. Big 15 is a high pressure corner. We've seen some bumps coming up in this uphill section as they head into the final curve, which is a Kreisel. It is a 360-degree corner, and Kreisel means circle in German. Exactly what it is. Across the finish line, lots of bumps we've been seeing as well too.
Yeah. It's just about nowhere here you can get down without the potential for disaster. And that goes from start to finish. So, our first heat has a very interesting group of athletes packed at the top of the pile. And when we say we're probably looking at a winner coming from the top 9, it's not because they're all within a couple of hundreds of each other. It's because you can give away half a second without thinking twice about it on this track. So, holding your position, as we saw in the men's race, is not the work of a moment.
No, definitely. It's a track, it's a race of consistency, and we're going to see who can do this. For first, starting in third, we have Brogan Crowley from the British team. The Brits showed their dominance in this morning's race. They have the lines, they have the kit, and Brogan laid down a really great run with still room for improvement. She's just a hair ahead of her teammate of Laura D sitting in 4th, so it's a good chance we may see a Brit on a podium here on the women's side as well. Sitting in 2nd is Mirella Reneva. She has had a fantastic season. She's sitting in the top 3 overall as well. She's hoping for a medal here to rewrite her history on this track. It's been a spotty one, but this was a great run that she laid down, and to be sitting in that 2nd position is a fantastic place for her. And then leading the race, who is no stranger to the top of the pack, is our World Cup current leader, Tina Hermann. She knows how to battle from the top and stay ahead. This is a track she's going to be wanting to win on, as are all of them. She laid down a pretty good run with lots of room for improvement. So if she's able to do that, we may just see not only her win the race, but take a track record as well.
That is entirely possible. I just went checking to see how many this would make if Tina Hermann takes the Crystal Globe. How many do you reckon off the top of your head?
I think it's 7.
This would be her 2nd Crystal Globe.
Oh, her winning Crystal Globe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, in terms of medals, yes, absolutely. But Jacqueline Lerling is the most successful German slider in women's skeleton. 3 Crystal Globes over 4 seasons. Tina's had, 1 bronze and 3 silver, 4 silver and 1 gold. So, yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of how many she gets. But for the overall, yes, it would only be a 2nd up, which astonished me. You know, 4-time world champion, but only potentially a 2nd-time World Cup champion. So, and the Mirambel, by the way, we will see shortly at the start deck, particularly with Kim Marmans celebrating his 40th birthday today. He is the Vice President of Sport for Skeleton for the IBSF, and also, of course, the leading light behind the newly increasingly adventurous Spanish team, which brings a whole bunch of athletes, which we saw in the World Championship. But at the top of the pile, Tina Hermann, I think a little bit like Christopher Grode here, probably quite glad to be getting to the end of the season, but actually not really feeling much pain here. She looks like she was having a pretty good day of it. Kimberly Boss comes in here second in the overall standings. Last year's World Cup champion, of course, the first Dutch slider to take that title. And coached by Kristen Bromley, looking to round out the season with a good result. But unfortunately, she's struggling a little bit in the midfield. And so a chance of the overall Crystal Globe, I think, has eluded her.
I don't know. Anything can happen. She came from 11th to win the race last week, so Kim Boss has what it takes to do a come from behind the win.
Yeah, and of all the places to come from 11th to win it, Innsbruck does not necessarily strike you as the most obvious place, because that's pretty much cut and dried. Where you start is where you finish.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it was an astonishing feat, wasn't it, to come all the way from behind, and that was her second win of the season. Tina already with 3 wins under her belt, so she could well add a 4th to this, or it could be somebody entirely different. We could get a first-time winner. We could get a first-time winner in terms of Brogan Crowley. Maybe Kim Milmans, she's in the mix. I mean, behind Laura Dees, who's 42/100ths off the lead. Milmans 100th back. Jane Channel 100th behind her. Suzanne Crair, the world champion, 500ths behind her. 600ths behind her, Kimberly Boss. 100 behind her, Hannah Neisser, the Olympic champion. I mean, as we said, it is kind of throw the names up in the air. Well, the lights have been on all day, but now they are needed because the sun is going down and the temperature is just starting to drop a little. It's by no means cold here. We have been here before when it's been -10 and the track has been like marble, and then it's your life in your own hands, but track record territory. Be interesting if we get a track record today. That would be, I mean, it's a long way north of how cold it normally is when you get that, but who knows? Janine Flock set the track record in November 2020, our second visit here, a 51.46, and we had a 51.49 from Tina Herman in the first heat. And behind her, at least 3 or 4 sliders could easily have gone quicker if they hadn't mucked up a few corners. So there is the potential for all sorts of excitement. Final slide of the season then, 17 sleds here, and they go in reverse order. So Alessandra Fumagalli has 1 chance of redemption, as does everybody else, I guess, in this heat. Kelly Curtis, Kelly Delka next up, Li Yuqi, Chao Dan of China, their little private battle going on. How far apart are they? Well, actually, a quarter of a second in favour of Xiao, so we'll wait and see how that works out. But then the group from basically Suzanne Crair up to Laura Dees, that's a pocket handkerchief, and they are effectively in a dead heat. So we will wait and see what happens. Final race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. Last heat of the season in Sigulda, Latvia. Martin Hafen and Elizabeth Meyer watching the action as Italy's Alessandra Fumagalli gets us back underway. The 24-year-old in her 4th World Cup this season, her 6th in total. Has not raced in the World Cup on this track, but has had a couple of race weekends here. So let's see what she can produce. Her career high, a 13th place in her previous 5 World Cup starts. She gets us underway.
5:09, just a little bit slower than that first heat start, but she is such a quick starter.
Well, she and Alessia Cripper have basically swapped. They've done about half the season each. I do slightly have the feeling that Fumagalli might be overhauling Cripper as the second Italian athlete.
Definitely, but looking into next season, I bet we're going to see all 3 of them on World Cup next year.
Nice lines at the top in these 2 fast labyrinths, then whipping out a corner 10 into 11, which causes so many problems. And then on down the track, up to 15, right up by the woodwork. And climbing.
Bit of a wild one there.
Yeah, well, it was wild on the first heat, wild in the second, but a little bit better. 52.11 compared to 53.05, just about a second quicker.
Significantly better.
Well, 52.11, should we put that into perspective? That's the 10th fastest run of the competition. Her visor's cracked, is it?
It's fogged up, so I don't think she would have been able to see the whole way down.
It might just have been at the bottom, but who knows?
Really big height there as she enters into 13. That transition's a tricky one. Now she gets picked up just on the exit of 14 and kind of pops a wheelie there as she heads into the big, long straightaway. It's going to steal her time, but that is a significantly better run, looking at the time-wise, than we saw in that first heat. She's steering with her toes to make sure it doesn't get that little bit extra in 15.
She looked pretty relaxed with all that height in 15. Just let it go. That's
Yeah.
what you need to see. You need to see an athlete that's comfortable with their steers. So with a 2/10 advantage from the first heat, pressure is on Kelly Curtis now. She too made a hatful of errors in the first run, particularly in the lower part of the track. 10th fastest starter, came in 16th place. Let's see what she's got in run 2.
.519 getaway, just 400 slower than that first heat. She had a really nice top-looking section of the track in that first heat. Small bump as she heads into corner 4.
Yeah, this upper labyrinth has taken the speed away already. Now she's got to get her timing back below.
Big hit as she pops in there.
Out of corner 14, one of the critical exits, and skating around, looking for stability. Low line in 15, speed's not there. She is going to stay behind Alessandra Fumagalli. And a big hit on the wall, adding insult to injury. 52.72 compared to 52.85, so a marginal improvement, but not the big step forward that she would have liked, I'm sure.
Definitely not the second that we saw Alessandra be able to take off her run. So could be track, it could be driving, just getting a little bit more. They're just going to see Fumagalli one more time coming through here, dropping the toe, and back to Curtis as she comes off. It's just a big hit she ends up taking on the sliders left before heading into the next curve, which makes this transition even trickier. It's like a domino effect. It just kind of knocks onto each other when you get one of those transitions incorrect. Coming off of 14 into this big, long straightaway. She's kind of fighting the sled there, trying to get it back online with her toes.
Yeah, Air Force athlete based in Italy, and her World Cup season is completed with a personal best here in Sigulda. Her previous best was 20th. She'll be no worse than 17th. Kelly Delka next up for Puerto Rico. 15th after the first of our 2 heats, and that is right on the nail of her best ever performance on this track. 2 previous World Cups here, finished in 23rd and 15th. And that, again, is the kind of progress that you want to see in your performance when you've got a bit more knowledge of the track.
Definitely, and she spent last week here just trying to groove with the track just a little bit more.
It was probably a whole different place last week when it wasn't quite so foggy and misty and sticky for the runners.
Nice entry there into corner 4. Nice smooth transitions that she's having.
Little late flop, but she keeps her speed.
Deficit we're seeing is from that start. Fumagalli just was so much quicker there.
And for Fumagalli with better speed as well, courtesy of that start. Long skid down there in the quicker pass of the track from Kelly Delka. A little wild, but she gets a slightly tidier exit out of 14 than we saw from Kelly Curtis. Still second best speed. She's not going to close on Alessandra Fumagalli, but she should hold her spot ahead of namesake Curtis. Kelly Delka comes across the line with a 52.64 compared to a 52.78. Again, so much of this track is I kind of think a lot like Altenburg and a lot like Lake Placid, is that it can get pretty wild at times.
Definitely pretty wild, and it's hard to get back online when some things don't go quite right. It's a heavy steering and a very heavy pressure track as well. So it's a lot on the body, it's a lot on the mind when you're doing the training runs as well. And these athletes had a quick turnaround, so it can be a bit tricky to figure it out in such a short period of time. As she comes down that long straightaway into 15, just watching for her entry.
Big thumbs up from Kelly, and you can hear in the background there the crowd applauding every athlete as they come in. They do like their sliding in this town. It's a big sport in a small town.
Yes.
So the first of our two Chinese athletes under the tutelage of coach Dirk Mattens there is Li Yuxi. 13th fastest start, and she came down just about a quarter of a second behind her teammate Xiao Dan, who was the 8th fastest starter in the field. So Li was first off in the first heat. Previous best here in her one World Cup appearance, a 25th position. We've had to take a big steer into one. That's not good news.
We steer with our head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So when we see those toes coming out, it's the most visible, but it's also the most aggressive steering that we have on the sled.
And again, a big steer into 2 and hit the wall going into 3. The timing is way off here, isn't it? This is not what she was expecting at all.
No, definitely not. Just a little bit wild.
And again, long skids down the straights, all of that dragging speed out of the sled. Same as when you put skis sideways. Decent exit out of 14. And the best speed of all, and that's the speed coming out of 14. Don't think she's going to get to Fumagalli, and she's a 10th shy, 52.52. In the end, that's the first run, I think, where the top's been a mess and the bottom looks quite good. Normally it goes the other way around.
Yeah, no, definitely. And she's a little bit loose, like we saw skids the whole way down the track. It's up to the athletes kind of what equipment they want to be on, and so they can be a little bit looser, a little bit skiddier, but if you can control it, you're going to get those top speeds and those really quick runs. But if you don't, just going to be skidding and fighting the sled the whole way down the track. This is into big corner 15. You see her hauling on that toe, dragging that right toe through that corner, trying to limit the height, and then that left toe trying to prevent it from dropping out. This is out of Kreisel, really tricky for the athletes because they don't cross the line to that blue bit.
That's the equivalent of a race car driver working on the steering just to adjust the line, a little bit more, a little bit less, but of course it's all friction. So Li Yuqi in second place behind Alessandra Fumagalli by a 10th. So Fumagalli continues to rise like a cork. Let's see what Xiao Dan has. The youngest athlete in the field this weekend, just 20 years of age. 6,300's her advantage, not over teammate Li, over Alessandra Fumagalli from the first heat. And you think, well, you can't give that much away. Yeah, you can. She may not, but it is entirely possible.
5:22. She's a 10th slower on the start here.
Interesting line into turn 1 as well. She's just kind of like rotated as soon as she started going up onto the corner.
Definitely, just taking some aggressive take-ons here on the top labyrinths.
All right, so her advantage when she lay down was half a second. It is now 3/10, and the speed not quite as good as Fumagalli. And
wow! Ouch. Oh, I feel that with her.
Yeah.
Bugger.
And the friction as well, you know, highly polished runners or your suit dragging on the ice. I think we know which slides best, don't we?
Definitely.
Still in the lead, but by 100th, and that's where it goes, 52.84. Now, her teammate was a 10th behind Alessandra Fumagalli. Xiao Dan is a 10th behind Alessandra Fumagalli. They are tied to the 100th at the end of the season. But in the overall standings, Xiao currently 13th ahead of Li in 16th. Will be the best of our Chinese sliders this season.
Just misses that steer, the first pressure, and can't do enough on that second bit. You see her toe trying to change the sled angle, but because there wasn't enough done on the first bit, just is going to really give her some airtime as she heads into the wall. And then out of 14 here, again, just getting a bit of a flop, but that's going to be probably just a little bit off her line after that wild exit. Puts her into a skid. She heads uphill a little bit into 15 to that big pressure curve.
Previous best 23rd. She will be no worse than 14th. Alessandra Fumagalli leads with 12 to go. We have an Italian leader. We'll have an Italian leader at the end of this run. It's Alessandra Fumagalli, currently in the leader's box. The 24-year-old up against her more experienced teammate. So what can 29-year-old Valentina Margalio do? 4 World Cup races here. She's got more experience, even more speed at the start. But can she hold it?
491, another strong start by Valentina. Big skid all the way to corner 2.
I think our chance of a start record may have gone. She was our best hope. She was only 400ths off it in the first heat. Does look like the start area has slowed down. It's getting a little bit frostier, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks to be pulling athletes a little bit offline as they head into corner 1.
Ooh. Well, she had to work hard in the middle of 11 there, but Valentina still on target. She's got a lead and is holding her advantage. Well, she's dropped 2 tenths now from 86 to 67. And Liz Meyer, the sympathetic commentator, living every moment there across the line. 4900s up, 52.28, but oh boy.
Ouch.
That was near disaster a couple of times, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, she held on pretty good until we headed to corner 15, and I'm sure we're going to see this in the replay because she decided to kiss that roof. May want to go and sign it afterwards.
Well, this is 11. Sled yawing all over the place as she desperately tries to wrestle it back online, and then
15, just straight to the roof. And she definitely tapped it because you can see how aggressive the sled change is.
No, she did. I don't know. There was no ice. But
yeah,
boy, it was there, wasn't it? It was there. And here again, Scorpion on the exit. And when you're trying to go uphill, maintain your momentum, you can probably imagine if you're on a bicycle and you're like throwing the body around, obviously it unsettles the bike. Does the same with the skeleton sled. So, Italy 1-2, China 3-4 ahead of Puerto Rico. Next up, Brazil. Don't tell me this is not an international sport. Nicole Silveira for Brazil, 11th fastest starter, came down 1200ths ahead of the quickest starter in the business. So let's see if she can stitch together a top 10 run here.
.515. She's 200ths quicker than that first start. She's the first of the athletes who's gotten quicker.
And a smooth run through corners 1 and 2. Takes a little dink into 3. But she was nice on the top of the track here. And again, like everybody else, sort of 10, 11, 12 crossovers starting to come back and haunt her.
Definitely. And the deficit we're seeing right now is because Valentina is so quick on the start.
Big steering there. Out of 14. Whoa.
She's coming back.
Yeah, she was, but she's still got good speed. Oh, and then the double tap up the straight, same as in the first heat. Not enough speed left. She's not going to get there. And across the line, 1100ths back. Again, down to 13.
Yeah.
She was overhauling Valentina Margalio, and below 13, it just kind of stretched away from her.
So close. Definitely shows a lot of potential for her. Come back next season and be fighting for that top 6 position zone.
Well, and again, the run repetition, you know, consistently racing in the World Cup just brings that level up, doesn't it, all the time?
Definitely. Really having to steer super hard, and then into this 14. Just stays on the corner a smidgen too long, so we see that flop, which puts her into a big skid. It's a little bit uphill, a little bit downhill in this area, so trying to bring it back is very difficult because there's no pressure on the sled. Coming out of 15, takes that double tap in the uphill. She has surprise low.
So Nicole Silveira's World Cup season is done, and she sits between our 2 Italians. 7 down, 10 to go here to round out the World Cup skeleton campaign for women in Sigulda. Well, we expected a few changes after the first heat, and we have certainly got them so far. Alessandra Fumagalli picking herself up 5 spots from being last in the first heat, and Valentina Margallo looks like she might be climbing the order as well. But again, not the cleanest runs from anybody so far. And, you know, honestly, we could spend a fortnight here, 3 weeks here, and people would still be making the same mistakes because the corners are so tight and so tough to get right.
Definitely, and they're so tight, so much so that a 4-man bobsled doesn't even fit down the track. So
a 2-man barely fits down. The articulation often is maxed out, and runners are getting picked up off the ice. So, yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I mean, a 4-man barely even fits in the elevator, to be fair.
True enough. And these athletes haven't had a ton of experience. You mentioned it's only been in the World Cup circuit for the last 5 years. So that's why we're seeing there's no really hometown favorite right now.
Well, the hometown favourite in a women's field is often Janine Flock. And you go, hang on a minute, this isn't Austria, even though the flag is basically sort of red and white. It's not the same. But she spent a lot of time here pre-season, particularly in the last 3 or 4 seasons, with Matthias Guggenberger, with the Ducurs family, learning and pre-season training, and that gives you such run volume on this track, and that is what helps you out when you then come back to race everybody else on it. But unfortunately, Innsbruck's outrun broke her this year. She's not the only one, but she's got a fractured bone in her foot, so she is not able to compete this weekend because you have a heavy landing in Innsbruck. So no Janine Flock, which opens our field up to the potential of a new winner, because no previous winner in the women's skeleton on this track is competing here today. And there is your current leader, Valentina Margallo, hanging out in the leaders box. 8th and final race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. Sigulda in Latvia, Martin Haven and Liz Meyer watching the action. Anna Fernstedt taking the sled from her coach Jeff Payne to get her final run of the World Cup underway. 10th place after the first heat. Let's see if she can find an improvement.
.539 on the start, a little bit slower than that first heat. Little bit of a bump there. She heads into corner 4, but she didn't actually hit the wall. It looked like it was just a bit of an ice buildup.
If you get the line right here, it looks like you're a river trickling down between these walls, and that's what you need. 3rd best speed, not bad from Anna Fernstedt, but she's half a second back already.
Going to be from that start difference because Valentina is so quick there, but she's reeling her in.
Yeah, here we go. This is what Anna Fernstedt does so well. A product of the German system initially. Best speed of all. How close does she get? She takes it by 21 hundredths. And it could have been more. That's a good run from Anna Fernstedt.
Wow.
Now,
a nice run to end her season with.
52.25 in the first heat, 52.21 in the second, but the speed at the bottom is what made the difference.
Definitely a little bit wild here. She transitions into the next curve, but she handles it so well. It's just her experience, like you've mentioned. She started in the German program. She's really a talented pilot.
Yeah.
Into this big uphill section, some minor skids, but this is the nicest we've seen so far.
Yeah, pretty much coming straight head on towards the camera there, and here as well. You can see the runners are parallel with the ice, and that's what keeps the speed. It's not that she's accelerating, it's just that she's not braking by having the sled sideways, and that's the key. Great final run from Anna Fernstedt, puts the smile on her face. And next up is Hannah Neisser, our Olympic champion. Well, the season started so promisingly for Hannah, like a number of German Olympic champions in the sliding sports, then went on to win her first World Cup race. That was the first race of the season in Whistler, but has not looked like repeating that since. And today, she's probably not going to do it either.
No, finding that consistency really needs to come for her.
Well, we've seen...
Smidgen faster.
Go ahead.
Smidgen faster there on her start for her.
we've seen so often with young sliders is that they can come in and like win a race, and you think of, you know, Olga Potylitsina or even, I mean, a whole bunch of other sliders, and then like 2 or 3 years go by and they never trouble a podium again until they get that consistency.
I mean, even talking about Thomas Dukers, he won his first race here, and it was a lot of years before he won another race.
Yeah, but his brother was always there. Mind you, he was often troubling the podium, where, you know, but that comes with experience, and Hannah Neisser doesn't have a huge amount of experience compared to someone like Tina Hermann. Across the line, 52.08. That is a decent run from her. 52.05 in the first heat, 52.08. So that's kind of consistent, and actually, that's probably the least worst second run we've seen after a first run.
Definitely, and it's only a few hundredths quicker than Fumagalli, so just shows how quick Alessandra was on that second run.
And again, that underlines the consistency thing. If Alessandra could pull 2 of those out on one day, mind you, that applies to Felix Keisinger as well. So, you know,
yes,
we've got to give her a bit of time, but yeah, not a bad-looking run from Hannah Neisser.
No, definitely a much better run. She looks quite composed on the sled, and her consistency is going to come. We're going to see her fighting for podiums again. There's no doubt in my mind.
And look, whatever else I might say, she is the Olympic champion at 22, yes. So, you know, whatever. Next up is Kimberly Bos of the Netherlands. There's Kristen Bromley, her coach and sled builder. This pairing have been working together for 6 seasons now. So this is a Bromley sled, like lots of other Bromley sleds, but unlike any other Bromley sled because it is personally tailored. This is the Savile Row Bromley sled. Everything perfectly tailored to last year's World Cup champion and our Olympic bronze medalist.
5:08, a very strong start for her, but messy as she heads into corner 2.
Well, she had such a strong season last year after the year before hobbling to the block and limping off just to try and stay in the World Cup. Came back fit, fast, and, you know, took that Olympic bronze, took a silver medal in the World Championships this year. So it's been a really great couple of seasons for Kimberly Bos. And she's still hanging on the lead. It's wild, but it's fast.
Wait. Little tap as she heads into corner 15, and I would say wild but fast is the Kimberly Bos style.
Well, and it works well with the Bromley sled as well. That's the way they work. 1500s up, 51.94, a 10th quicker than her first heat, and that will be at least 8th place now. That means that she is very likely, I think, to end up in second.
I think
28 points between her and Mimi Reniva.
A bit wild, no kidding there, Kimmy. She said she was struggling at the top part of the track, but it looked like the bottom really got her. She had a bit of a skid and a tap as she headed into corner 2. There goes all of her start speed, unfortunately. And then this transition's getting a lot of athletes today, so it's not just Kimmy that's struggling here. Need to do a big toe steer to be able to save the sled. And then into this big long straightaway as well. Just fighting the sled puts her into a little bit of a skid, and then she takes the tap on the slider's left.
So, saying thanks to everybody at home for watching. Kim actually comes in here just 31 points ahead of Mimi Reniva. We could see a change for second in the overall standings. Meanwhile, here is our newly minted world champion. If the Olympic champion is young at 22, and that is young, 23 for the world champion, that's not old either. Yeah, I mean, Germany have got 2 very impressive young sliders here. The reigning world and Olympic champions, both still juniors.
That's pretty impressive.
It sure is. And Kreia can start 5:08. That's as quick as Kimberly Bos. You know, that is among the top 4 or 5 starters in the business.
She's from Altenburg. She knows how to drive these very difficult tracks.
And that doesn't panic her. She had a little late flop there. Did not bother changing the line. I've got it. 8th best speed.
takes that bump. So many athletes have been taking.
Now, the worry there is the speed. She's only 1500s up. She's not added to it. The gap's come down. Boss had very good speed at the bottom. She's not got it. She's going behind. Kimberly Boss is going to move up the order. Surely, Suzanne Creer in the red into the Kreisel. You're not coming back from there. And behind by 300ths of a second. I don't know how the gap wasn't a tenth or more, but she somehow managed to hang on to what little speed she had there, almost enough. I mean, 300ths is the tiniest amount.
That's going to be so frustrating, obviously, for her. To drop in a race really sucks, but she knows where the speed came from, and to only be 300ths behind, it's really a bummer for her. Into this big, long straightaway, just going to be fighting that sled. You can see her toes dragging behind her, trying to bring it back, kind of bananing on it. We say banana because there's a position when you move your body.
Now, the other thing is that she was only 39 points behind Mimi Reneva, looking for third overall in the World Cup standings. So, and she's ahead of Kimberly Boss. Well, she was, but not by enough. Now then, Jane Channell. Jane Channell could be in for a really, really good result here. If she puts in the run that 3/4 of her first heat looked like it was going to be, then she's got a real chance of moving up. 6th place after the first heat, 4400s back, 1100s over Kimberly Boss. But if she is clean from 12 to 13, the world could be her oyster. Let's see what she does.
Let's see her get below that 5 seconds again on the start.
Yeah, 497 first start, 504 second start, so not quite as quick, but clean. Ooh, skid from 1 to 2, just as we saw in the first heat. And a tap into 3 as well.
Oh, that was a rough transition as well.
All right, stabilize the ship. Enough speed's been given away. Now is the time to build it up. Out of 11, later in a big hit into 12.
Big pressures here for Jane.
And 2/10 becomes 300ths. She's in the red, 8th best speed. Not enough, doesn't take the double tap, but nearly does. And again, it's all coming unstitched at the bottom. Huge height there. And no speed at the line. 52.40 for Jane Channell. Again, 2 runs, both a case of what could have been.
Just a little bit wild there for her.
Blake Enzie down there helping out with the sled. Probably cultivating his bruises nicely from today's earlier race. And again here in 11, late height means...
Yeah, there's nowhere to go, unfortunately. She just missed the first pressure. We saw really high height in 11. And then here as well, out of 13 into 14. Just a little bit off the line, which makes that transition so, so difficult. You can see her elbow is peeking out, potentially from taking one of the taps earlier on. Just needing to get reorganized. But there's no time to when the transitions are as quick as they are.
Yeah, it's a tough place to end the season. Well, happy birthday to Coach Anna Mirambel. Kim Marmon's hands off the jacket as we get into the final 5 sleds of the season. Started back in November in Whistler, and suddenly 12 minutes later, we're at the end of the season, at the end of February in Sigulda. Let's see what Kim has got for this final official run of the year.
5:11, 200s quicker on the start. What a comeback Kimmy has had this season from double broken ankles.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, missed the first part of the season, didn't join us until Winterberg. She could barely stand up then, and walking was obviously a discomfort, and yet she's now top 10 starts.
Yeah, and fighting for podium. She was on the podium just last week.
A 10th up, 4th best speed, but a big hit.
Nice transition, 13-14 there. Sticks the landing on this big straightaway.
Yeah, 500s in it, only the 4th best speed. Let the Bromley sled fly. She's doing as little as she can. Across the line, yes, by a time, 51.96. And it's that ability not to overdrive it at the bottom that keeps the speed alive.
Definitely. What a way to end the season. It was a hard start to it, but...
Yeah, she's still not going to be doing any dancing in a hurry. Bit of jigging about, but not much dancing. Those ankles are still pretty sore, I think. But again here, this huge corner 11 is kind of key to the bottom of the track.
Yeah, definitely. And she just missed the first steer a little bit, so there's a bit of extra height there in 11, which makes this 12 to 13 quite difficult as well. Really going to have to steer hard in 13 to then clean it up for 14. This is that uphill section. She is such an intuitive driver. She already had her toe ready to go, knowing that there was going to be a little bit of a skid, and she fixes it immediately.
Thank you for everything. Ciao, ciao.
So still big smile. Kim Marmons leads. 4 to go. Now, we are in a very tight group of athletes from, well, Hannah Nizer, 5600s back, to Brogan Crowley, next up after Laura Dees, just 32 hundredths of a second, covering 7 athletes in the battle for the podium. So this could all go anyway. Laura Dees of Great Britain, 2018 Olympic bronze medalist, 5 years ago. Seems such a lifetime, and yet it's really so close. Now then, can she grab a medal to round out the season? Oh.
5-0-0, another strong start by Laura.
And again, with this new coaching setup, new life in Laura Dees this year, the new sleds really work well for her. 2100s up, she's building her advantage.
Really nice looking top part of the track.
Only the 10th best speed, though. And that is a little bit of a worry. Working hard from 12 to 13, gets a decent exit, needs to be clean out of 14. She is 1800s up. She's still got the advantage. 5th best speed, it's coming towards her. It's going to be close at the line, but she should have enough to pick off Kim Marmons, and does. 51.79. Well, there's Martins Ducours. I think nobody's going to argue the greatest skeleton slider of all time, and bringing that knowledge and that warmth of personality to the coaching lineup is definitely all part of the sprinkling of magic dust that seems to have descended over British skeleton this season.
Definitely revitalized this program, and this was a nice looking run by Laura. She struggled on the bottom in that first heat, so she cleaned it up. She fixed what she needed to do. Head so close to the ice. She's notorious for dragging her head on the ice. So,
and that's most of the noise you hear from the sled, is the chin of the helmet dragging on the ice. Yeah.
Exactly, but she's in such a good aerodynamic position, having her head so low. And that's a good result for Laura. Get some airtime at the bottom as well, over those mattresses, trying to stop the sled.
The fans and the track workers here enjoying themselves this Friday evening in Sigulda in Latvia. And now for the medals. Laura Dees leads from Kim Marmons and Kimberly Boss. 3 sleds left in the season. Brogan Crowley, is this her time? In the 3rd place after the first heat, with a 1400s advantage over her teammate Laura Dees. Ooh, big turn into turn 1.
The groove looks to be pulling athletes a little bit off as they head into one, but she controlled it well and got it back. Really nice top bit of the track here.
Well, she started slower than Laura, and that gap in now has stabilized. 4th best speed, quicker than Dees was at turn 11, and a decent exit as well there.
Small skid, but wow, big height, but she's relaxed through it.
Come on, straighten up, straighten up. She's going, come on, baby, 500's back, but the speed's not there. I don't think she's got enough in the tank. She's not going to catch Laura. And the gap's gone out from 5 to 3/10, 5200s back. All of that skidding. Laura Dees is on the podium. She will take a medal here in Sigulda. And Brogan Crowley with a 52.45 will not. She's in 6th place with 2 to go. Again, the consistency that comes with experience, that will come to her. This is her 3rd World Cup here, and it will be comfortably her best result in Sigulda.
Big pull out of the groove. I don't know if she taps just before corner 1, if it is just the skid, but what an aggressive on-take onto corner 1. Then this transition 13 to 14. Although she's high, she's quite relaxed, and then into 14 is able to fix it, but it just takes so much of her speed. Then she ends up fighting this like really the rest of the way down the track.
Yeah, that exit of 13 ruined the exit of 14, and yeah, you can just see the marks the toe is leaving in the frosty ice. But Brogan Crowley, a big World Cup season campaign for her, has completed. Laura Dees leads, 2 to go. Mimi Reneva of Canada with a 1/4 second advantage. And Mimi now with the opportunity to move up into 2nd place in the overall season standings. Potentially, I'm not sure of the maths. Kimberly Boss is currently 3rd. So Mimi needs to finish at least where she is now. And even then, I'm not doing the maths live on air. That's never a good look. Let's see what she's got for us at the start. 5:20.
Smidgen slower than that first start. She's really got to be perfect here.
Well, before she came onto the World Cup, I knew Mimi's name from so many track records at the junior level, particularly in North America. She doesn't have that mercurial start anymore, though, so she's got to drive even better.
She had surgery 2 years ago, and that did put her back a little bit.
And this is going entirely the wrong way for Mimi and the right way for Kimberly. Crashes and somehow hangs on. 3/10 back. This is going to drop her down behind Brogan Crowley right now. Laura Dees will lead with 1 sled left to go, and Mimi will not be 2nd. We'll have to see. She finishes just ahead of Hannah Nizer, but we'll have to see what happens. The maths, I'm afraid, is going to elude me while we've only got a couple of minutes of racing left in the season. We'll wait for the computers to tell us who's going to finish 2nd, who's going to finish 3rd. It is a tight tussle. Currently, Kimberly Boss 2nd coming in here, Mimi Reneva 3rd, Suzanne Crea 4th, but
just misses the steering in 11. Gets way too much height in the first bit, and there's not a lot you can do to save it at that point. Whether she tows or not, she's going to be taking a big tap as she heads into 12. And then out of 13, just again, way too much height. We're going to get just a little bit off her sled too as she heads into 14. It was a wild transition.
It was. She already had a huge bruise on her left thigh, and I don't suppose that's done much to help it. Final sled of the season then, and fittingly perhaps, Tina Hermann looking for victory, and with it, the Crystal Globe. So it goes down to the very last sled. 8 races, 16 heats, World Championship interruption and everything else. And Hermann has to put down 1 really good, solid run. If this one eludes her, she could lose the Crystal Globe. Let's not make any bones about it. It's not likely, but it could. Her coach watching at the top, Christian Bauder, her personal coach also watching at the top, Dirk Matchens. 5:32 getaway, that's enough.
Now, you say about the Crystal Globes and having it elude her, it did happen. The same thing on this track before, where she dropped out of the top 3 finishers.
And that was absolutely heartbreaking for her. She has 1 Crystal Globe, gold in her locker. She would love another.
Wow.
She's dropped behind Laura Dees. She can find speed at the bottom if she's clean. She's coming back. 3rd best speed. She's kind of wild for a Tina Hermann ride. Has she got enough to take it at the line? I think she might have. Goal for Dees or Hermann. It's Hermann. The win of the season.
By the skin of her teeth. Holy.
She just has that knowledge. All right, she shakes her head. It was wild in the middle, but she stabilized the ship and brought it back in. 500ths of a second. Language, Tina.
Lucky ducky there.
She is absolutely fizzing, isn't she? 500ths of a second.
Oh,
she must have had eyes.
Ich freue mich so auf zu Hause.
Must have had eyes out on stalks coming into 13. It's all going the wrong way, but she claims victory. It is win number 4 of the season for Tina Hermann, and her second Crystal Globe goes with it. She's still puffing and blowing because she can't believe it. And
doesn't have to be pretty.
Laura Dees takes the silver. Yeah.
Kim Meilemans takes the bronze.
Yep. And Kimberly Boss in 4th place sees the Crystal Globe going to Tina Hermann. She's our World Cup champion. She's our winner here in Sigulda. And she's only the 3rd woman to win a skeleton race here.
Certainly wasn't pretty, but she made it work.
Yeah. And again, that is the depth of her ability. It all goes completely pear-shaped midway. And she still manages to drag it back. Yeah, she's going to look at that and go, oh my goodness. She was watching the replays there, and I mean, you know, nothing that she didn't know, but it's always interesting, I think, for athletes to see it from the outside, see what it looks like, because she knows what it felt like. 500ths ahead of Laura Dees. Kim Meilemans in 3rd place. Kimberly Boss up to 4th, ahead of Suzanne Craer and Mimi Reneva. Hannah Brogan, Crowley and Jane Channel. Rounding out the top 10 is Anna Fernstedt. So she finishes in 10th spot ahead of Valentina Margali, Nicole Silveira, Alessandra Fumagalli, Xiaodan Liuxi, and the Kellys, Delka and Curtis. And that is it. World Cup 8 of 8. Normally we'd be going to the World Championships, but we've already done those. So for our women and for our men's skeleton sliders, the season is over. The overall World Cup champion for 2022-2023 is Tina Hermann for the 2nd time in her career after winning it back in 2015-16. And then Jacqueline Lurling and Elena Nikitina and Janine Flock and Kimberly Boss have all denied her since then. It's been a long while since Hermann was on top of the pile. Kimberly Boss taking the 2nd place away in the final run from Mirella Reneva, who finishes with the bronze Crystal Globe. Suzanne Craer, the world champion, Hannah Neisser, the Olympic champion, gathering storm from those 2 young sliders, challenging the establishment at the top of the pile. They finish in 4th and 5th at the end of a great season. And look at Hallie Clark again. Look at Xiaodan 20, Hallie Clark 18. You know, there is an awful lot of young talent waiting in the wings, waiting to come in. Some of it's already arrived, and in the shape of, well, sliders like Freya Tarbit and Tabby Stocker of Great Britain, Mystique Rowe as well, perhaps. We're going to see some new names coming in and challenging the established top order in the next 3 seasons as we head into Milano Cortina 2026. But for now, we are done for another season of skeleton. My thanks to everybody who's helped out, especially to the delights of Liz Meyer all season long, and to everybody from the IBSF TV crew. On behalf of all of us here and from every venue this season, thanks for joining us, thanks for being with us, thanks for coming along and watching the action. And we will see you for the rest of the weekend as Bobsleigh plays out in Sigulda.